great Monday evening. I hope you had a wonderful January 13th, 2020 in the Lord. I tell you, God is so faithful. He is so wonderful. And just to make it back home after a day of work is such a blessing. Some people don't make it, right? Some people have to go to the ER. Sometimes, stuff happens and we have emergencies. But when you make it back to your destination, that is something to really be thankful for, glorify the Lord for his mercies and his loving kindness. And it reminds me of the chapter that we went over this morning, Psalms 48, great is the Lord and greatly to be praised. But in the middle of that chapter, verse 9, we have thought of thy loving kindness. Oh my goodness. If you just think about that all day. Oh God, in the midst of thy temple. Yes, in the temple of the Lord, as far as, yes, the worship place, but even this temple, right? This is a sanctuary, our body. And when he is merciful toward us, and show us his grace and his favor, We're in Psalms 49, and verse 3 speaks to me right now. My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation, the thinking, the thoughts of my heart shall be of understanding. I was communicating with my son back and forth today. Today was his first day of spring semester, and I'm so excited for him. And even though he waited to add classes, it seemed like it was a perfect schedule. And I was just like, wow, I want to take those classes that he's taking. Everything that he took just seemed interesting, except the chemistry. But everything just seemed so wonderful. Educational diversity and psychology. And there's one, to God be the glory, gospel choir right now. So he's getting some of the word, right? And this is so important for college students because they're taking these classes where they start questioning their faith and everything that has been taught them. And we go through that. I know I did. And maybe it's just for a day. Maybe it's for a week where you're just like, what? But it's good because the Lord brings them back. And they're stronger than ever, and they see for themselves that God is real. He is faithful. So he will increase our understanding, and he is the one, in verse 15, God will redeem our soul from the power of the grave. We don't have anything to worry about. Even we were talking about death and our final destination. There's light. God is in us, in the midst of this sanctuary, in this temple, and he will carry us to the fold of his love in eternal bliss. Amen. Heaven. Today is January 13th. We are in Proverbs 13, and so many scriptures have spoken. I will say the light of the righteous, talking about the light, rejoiceth. And that's in verse 9. We can just continually praise the Lord. It's just a praise party that never ends, right? Even in the midst of tribulations, we better worship, because that confuses, that confounds the enemy. Like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be going through this. And it doesn't always have to be out, but it's inside too. And we are thanking the Lord that the law of the wise is a fountain of life. How do we get the wisdom of the Lord? By just cultivating that relationship, by following his word, by fearing him, by respecting him, by communicating with our Father. And he wants to give his loving riches to each one of us. And while we're here temporarily, speaking of passing away from this morning, a good woman, a good man leaveth an inheritance, not only physically, not only financially, but especially spiritually. I'm still drinking of the pleasure and eating some spiritual meals that my mom left for me. That's a spiritual inheritance. And that's in verse 22. And they leave it for their children's children, for their grandchildren, and beyond. So we are planting seeds for the next generation and for folks that we will never meet. But know that God will be glorified for years to come. Okay, enjoy the blessings of the Lord. Get great rest and know that He is faithful in every way. Good night.